Okay. Can you guys hear me? We should be going live here in a second. What do we think about the new Fantastic Four? Yeah, definitely going to talk about that here in a minute. The new Fantastic Four. We're going to have a discussion about that one here in a second, YouTube. Like, definitely. Superhero Static Shock. Womp womp. There's no way Jaden Smith is Static Shock. What? No way. Alright. No, there's no way that Jaden Smith is Static Shock. That's crazy. Good morning, everyone. A Wild Rob appears. Yes, a Wild Rob does appear. Oh my goodness. So keep in mind, guys, as always, down in the description, you guys will find a link to a YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is a growing YouTube channel. It's actually Comic World. And as you guys know, at the beginning of Comics and Coffee, I always just grab a YouTube channel from the self-promotion section of the weekly pull form. So if you guys are trying to get your YouTube channel grown and you guys want to have it featured at some point here on Comics and Coffee, then that's the place to go. But in any event, as you guys know, these are channels that are starting out. These are channels that are growing. These are channels that are moving up in the world, and they're trying to, get a feel for themselves and so on and so forth. So a lot of these channels may be very new. They may be, the quality may not be the greatest ever, but everybody starts somewhere. So, give them a shot and take a look at them, let them know, give them some feedback, something like that. But yeah, so we need to talk, YouTube. We need to have a conversation. All right, we're gonna go to my office and we're gonna have a conversation. I can't help but notice that over the last, several months or so, since the announcement of the Fantastic Four, basically, that people have been freaking out about Michael B. Jordan and Johnny Storm being a black dude. This is ridiculous. All right, look, guys. When Fox announced that they were doing a reboot of the Fantastic Four, and I saw the trailer, it wasn't though I was looking at the trailer, it was, oh my god! Johnny Storm is black! That was the last thing on my mind. Alright, this is a movie where we have an 8-foot-tall guy who's made of rock. Alright? We have a woman that can make herself invisible and make force fields using her mind. We've got a guy that can stretch himself all over the place. And the character in question can set himself on fire and become as hot as the sun. And they're able to do this because they go to another dimension called the negative zone. And in the process, they gain their powers. Now, this idea stems from the same concept, the same world that gave us a teenage kid who was bitten by a radioactive spider, and instead of dying from radioactive sickness, he developed spider-related powers. All right. Is it really that crazy to believe that maybe Johnny Storm could be black in the Fantastic Four film? I mean, it's it's a continuity error, okay? Who cares? In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they have continuity errors all the time. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Guardians of the Galaxy came together because Ronan the Accuser had the Power Gem and was probably going to destroy, Xandar and take over the universe or something stupid like that. In the comic books, they came together because a villain of the Fantastic Four named Annihilus was wiping out life in the universe using an army of bugs. And Captain America, the Winter Soldier. All right, Bucky Barnes is the Winter Soldier because he fell off a train in the first Captain America film and was frozen in ice, and then he was discovered by the Russians. In the comics, he got blown up by a plane. I mean, yes, there's continuity errors. Who cares? Who cares? If you're going to judge a film, if you're going to judge an actor in a film, judge the actor based on their acting talent. Judge them on how well they give us a character. How well can Michael B. Jordan make Johnny Storm believable? Don't judge him based on his skin color. That's preposterous. It's nonsense. So, anyway, having said that, let us jump into this Q&A section because I imagine there's going to be a lot of questions about Secret Wars, and apparently Jaden Smith, his cast is Static Shock, which I'm not 100% sure who Static Shock is, but Jaden Smith cast in anything except for, like, the Karate Kid, which was, like, named wrong. It should have been the Kung Fu Kid, but nonetheless, Jaden Smith in anything other than that is going to be crap, so... How will the Avengers unite after Civil War? See, I don't know. See, that was kind of the funny thing. The funny thing about Civil War when it happened in the comics was that once it was all over, everybody was like Tony Stark, we hate you. Like, everybody hated Tony Stark. No one liked Tony Stark. Tony Stark didn't even like Tony Stark. So I'm curious to see how all that's going to play out. Now, here's a question. Somebody actually raised this question pretty well in the chat, too. What if it's a reversal of roles? What if Captain America is the one in support of registration? And what if Tony Stark is not? He's the one against registration. That would be a really cool concept for the MCU. I don't know if we'll actually see it play out that way. Most likely we'll see it play out with Captain America on the side of freedom, because Americans' heads would blow up if Captain America was not on the side of freedom. They would just be like, what? Ah! They would lose their minds. But, no, I don't know. I mean, it's the way that they basically united after that is after Civil War, and I don't really think we've gone over this, but once Civil War ended in Marvel Comics, we had like a 34-issue limited series called The Initiative. And The Initiative was initially supposed to be a mini-series. Like, that was supposed to be it. It was supposed to be like maybe 7 or 8 comics or something like that. It wasn't really supposed to be that long at all. Instead, it ended up being like this big 34-issue thing where it told us the fallout, and eventually they just got rid of it all with Secret Invasion. But nonetheless, you know, it was basically one of these things that was just kind of like swept under the rug. Like, once it was all said and done and the Superhuman Registration Act was gone away, all the Avengers and the superheroes were like, well, I mean, you know, yeah, we fought, but we're BFFs now, so it's okay. That's basically how it played out. So it's really weird. The Freedom Shield. Let's see. Can we ever get Taskmaster explained? I was reading a solo series from 2012, and it contradicts everything else ever shown about his character, so I'm a bit confused as to what is what. Okay, I don't know if we'll ever do Taskmaster unless it becomes relevant during Secret War. See, the reason why we're doing Age of Apocalypse, the reason why we're doing Planet Hulk, why we're doing Future Imperfect, stuff like that, is because a lot of those things are relevant to... What's going on, Benny? A lot of those things are relevant to what's going on with Secret Wars. If we jump in and in a Secret Wars, they say, okay, here's Apocalypse, and he rules the territory called the Age of Apocalypse, and it's that universe continued on, you guys are going to be like, Rob, what's going on? How did this universe come into existence in the first place? That's why we're doing Age of Apocalypse. Plus, it's one of the greatest stories ever told in the history of Marvel Comics. It's awesome in scale, so we're definitely going to do that. But, you know, Taskmaster's not really relevant there, but here's the deal. Whenever a new story comes out, whenever things jump in and explain Singapore, whenever things jump in and a new writer comes out and they say, okay, guys, here's the story, and they're giving you the origins of Taskmaster, or they're telling you, here's how Taskmaster works, that's the new standard, basically. Think of it as like a reboot within a reboot. It's a reboot, but it's not really a reboot. You know, it's the same thing with like Daredevil Yellow, for example. Like, we had Frank Miller's run of Daredevil, which made, you know, Rupert Murdoch, Matt Murdock's father, a really, really brutal and mean person. Jeff Loeb came back in Daredevil Yellow and said, nope, that's not the case. His father was a kind guy, his father was a nice guy, and that's the standard going forward. So just think about it that way. That's really, you know, how those things work. So whatever you read in 2012 with Taskmaster is the accurate Taskmaster at the moment. That's the way things are. And you can pretty much just disregard, you know, how he gained his abilities or any of that stuff previous to that. So I haven't read it. So Taskmaster was never really that interesting to me that I went out and picked up a solo series. So, let's see. What is that thing in my hand? This is a e-cigarette mod, and it's a beastly mod of that. This is a Sigeli 100 Watt Plus. So this is a doomsday device. In case things pop off in the chat too much, I can hit this button, and everybody's computers, all of you who are watching the live stream right now, your computers are going to blow up. So Jim Carrey as Carnage would be pretty awesome. Like, see, look at that. Like, Benny shows up and he hijacks my chat. He hijacks the whole live stream. Well, you know, that's going to be the case. Then Benny can just do his live stream and I'll just go home. Or I guess I already am home. I'll just sign off. All right, let's scroll up here. I think there was a question in here somewhere. Can I ever explain the monitors? I can try. My knowledge about DC is nowhere near as great as my knowledge on Marvel. I mean, it was like I actually hit up Sal. I was like, okay, Sal, like the cosmic entities as they exist in DC, are they organized like they are in Marvel? And he's like, nope, they're just kind of there. And it's like, well, crap. So it's difficult to keep up with. But let's see. Which movie do I think will do better, Fantastic Four or Ant-Man? In truth, I think they'll do about the same. Benny, you don't have to go. I think they'll do about the same. I think that that I'm the Benny block. Benny, you don't have to leave, man. It's fine. No, I think they'll do about the same, and the reason why is because people are hyped. People are like, "Yay, Ant-Man," but they're like, "Captain America: Civil War." Like it was the most. It was a film people were most excited for after Avengers 2: Age of Ultron. It was like the most hyped film after Avengers 2. And so Ant-Man, in truth, just kind of came out at a bad time. Like Ant-Man probably, it would have been better if Ant-Man had come out after Captain America: Civil War because, you know, it's, I mean, you've got a huge blockbuster film, and then you've got the next huge blockbuster film, and then you've got this film in between. And not enough people know who Scott Lang is. I mean, in truth, I would have picked Hank Pym because Hank Pym is a more established character and a more well-known character, but Scott Lang's more modern, and so it makes sense that they would pick Scott Lang for the Ant-Man film. But nonetheless, you know, if I went out and did a survey and I said, okay, guys, like, who is Ant-Man? I imagine a lot of people are going to say, well, I mean, like, I've heard of the name, like, he's an Avenger, isn't he, or something like that, but they're not going to know much about him. In fact, they may never have heard of him at all, and so you know, it's one of those weird things. With regards to the Fantastic Four, Fox has a track record of making terrible Marvel-based movies, and so I think a lot of people are going to go into the Fantastic Four expecting the worst, and then being surprised if they don't get that. So, I mean, it's going to be big. It's a reboot of a movie, so people are going to go see it regardless, and people are going to go see Ant-Man because it's a Marvel Cinematic Universe film. And I imagine that Ant-Man, they're going to basically draw people into seeing Ant-Man by incorporating a lot of important things into that movie. So, you know, again, it really depends. You know, it really is going to be, it's going to be interesting. Um, let's see. I'm reading some Captain Marvel. Oh, Genus fell. Yeah, they bring up bringing in the Shi'ar. Can you talk about them or do a video like you did the Kree? Well, the Shi'ar are pretty straightforward. I mean, the Shi'ar aren't too difficult to understand. They're an empire that's existed for you know millennia, for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. They existed for a long time in Marvel Comics. I mean, you had like yeah. I mean, they were big in the '90s. That was like the age of the Shi'ar, were the 1990s. I mean, you had the Kin, you had Laundra, you had the Shi'ar Crystal or the Mcron Crystal, you had Gladiator, you had the Imperial Guard, you had the Phoenix Force, you know, and all the X-Men versus the Imperial Guard and the Trial of Jean Grey. I mean, you had all these really, really cool things that went on in the 1990s. After that, they just really kind of took a back seat. We knew they were there, and they would show up in conflicts, but they weren't nearly as prominent as they used to be. Marvel tried to bring them back. They tried to make them prominent again when they gave us the oh god, what was it called? The War of Kings. When they basically gave us like Vulcan, and they said, okay, here's Vulcan, and he's the third Summer's brother, and now he rules the Shi'ar, and he's going to war against Black Bolt and the Kree Empire. So, you know, it's one of those interesting things. You know, it's the Shi'ar aren't really relevant. They're just kind of there, you know, and they're not as important as they used to be. They actually tried to make them important during Secret Wars or during Time Runs Out. Like towards the end, Gladiator, who's ruling the Shi'ar Empire, is like, oh my God, Earth is the reason why the incursions are happening. Let's just destroy the planet Earth. Let's just blow it up. And then the Guardians of the Galaxy show up, and they're like, hey, Avengers, like the Shi'ar are coming, and they're gonna blow up your planet. So you might want to get ready for that. And then it gets kind of silly after that. But no, it's one of those interesting things. Do I think Daredevil will be in Civil War? I hope so. But here's my concern about Civil War. Here's my worry about it. My worry about Civil War is that we're gonna get too many characters hammered in there. That's why I think Civil War was just too big to do with one movie. I mean, Civil War I think should have been all of Phase 4. But I'm not the decision maker. I'm just a fan that has an opinion. I think that with Age of Ultron, we saw what happens when you have a plot that moves too fast and you have too many characters in it. You know, we saw the same thing, you know, with Spider-Man 3. Of course, Age of Ultron was a whole nother level. It was a much better film, but the fact remains that, you know, we see what happens when you have too many characters crammed into a story and the story moving too fast. With you know, Captain America Civil War, you know, I think there's going to be a lot happening in a very short amount of time, but I could be wrong. It could be very well written, it could be very organized, and it could be the best Marvel film to date. I don't know. It's going to be really hard to tell. I mean, of course, I'm going to go see it. Why the hell wouldn't I? You know, the only way I wouldn't go see Captain America: Civil War is if like the world exploded. Like, if the world came to an end, then I wouldn't go see it. But, you know, if there was a zombie apocalypse, I would, like, go to the movie theater, barricade myself inside, and then find the movie and watch it. Like, that's what I would do. And then I'd watch all the other movies in the theater, too, and then try to find a way to escape the zombie apocalypse. Like, that would be an awesome movie. Like, wouldn't that be a cool movie? There's like a zombie apocalypse and somebody just like runs into a movie theater and just watches movies. Like that. That'd be pretty amazing. Opinions on Spider-Man casting. I knew this was going to come up. Asa Butterfield is a great choice. He was solid in Ender's Game. Ender's Game was not well written, and it wasn't nearly as good as the Orson Scott Card book. The Scott Card book was so good. But nonetheless, he was convincing. I mean, I liked him. I liked his character. It'll be interesting seeing somebody as young as he is jumping in and being Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but he's also the right age too. But here's the kicker though. Here's the question you have to ask. Should you read Marvel Zombies? Certainly. Everybody should read Marvel Zombies. They have a lot of older characters. Like a lot of the characters as they exist in the Marvel Cinematic Universe now look like they're characters that are they're modern versions of themselves. They're modern versions of those characters. Throwing in Spider-Man as being like, 15, 16 years old makes sense. And a lot of older Spider-Man fans will probably love it. They'll say, yes, we get the old school Spider-Man. We get to watch him grow. This is going to be so cool. But, I would have expected they would have picked Spider-Man who was a little bit older. The question is, it would have been a major continuity thing if they said, well, if this guy with spider powers existed all this time and he's been in New York, why wasn't he part of the Avengers? And so that's why they're going with him, with his story where he just basically, is Spider-Man. I don't think they're going to do the origin, but I think they're going to, say, hey, he's Spider-Man now. So we'll see what's up. What I'm thinking they're going to do is they're going to start the movie like they did The Incredible Hulk, where in The Incredible Hulk, in the opening sequences, in the opening credits, we got the whole origin story of The Incredible Hulk. I think they're going to do that with Peter Parker, with the Spider-Man film. And it makes sense. I mean, everybody knows the origin story. You don't need an hour of the film dedicated to it. Just give it to us in like a 5-minute opening sequence, and everybody's going to be like, okay, cool, Spider-Man, let's go. Okay. Let's see. Will Ultron return in another MCU movie? Well, as far as we know, he's dead. Or at least we're led to believe he's dead. Some people are saying that he's not, that the Vision didn't kill him, but the Vision destroyed what was left of Ultron. So I would say that that the Ultron will probably return at some point along the line in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in some form or fashion, but I don't think it'll be the Ultron we know. That is to say, it won't be... I mean, it could just be like his consciousness got blasted out into space, that Loki used the mind gem and said, okay, I'm going to strip your consciousness away from you. I'm going to incorporate it into myself or something like that. I don't know exactly how all that worked, because Ultron, in terms of his development originated with the mind gem, and so it makes sense he would return to the mind gem once it was all said and done. But I don't know. Will Silk be in Secret Wars? Honestly, if she is, she'll probably be part of Spider-Verse, but don't really care. I don't say that to be a jerk. I just say that because I never really liked Silk. I mean, Silk felt like she was just kind of slammed in there as a character. She was just kind of crammed in there and said, all right, hey guys, new Spider character, like Spider-Girl, but not really Spider-Girl, but kind of yes, but not really, but hint, hint, nudge, nudge. That's kind of how it felt with her character. I never really liked Silk that much. Let's see. Civil War should be like a 5-hour movie of Marvel awesomeness. No, I don't think it should be 5 hours. Nobody would sit through a 5-hour movie. But it should be like 2 or 3 movies. It should be stretched over. Like, it should be, well, it wouldn't be the Thor movie, but it should be the Captain America movie. It should be the, maybe, well, I guess we're not going to get an Incredible Hulk film. Yeah, it should just be stretched over a series of movies, just titled Civil War. I don't know. Just like 3 Captain America movies in Phase 4, or Phase 3. Let's see. The Sentry in Battleworld, Sentry's dead. Sentry's been dead for quite some time. They killed him off. They tried to bring him back as one of the Horsemen of Apocalypse, but it wasn't very well received. Fans were like, just let him die, please. Just stop resurrecting him. Just let him stay dead. Like I said, the Sentry, the best story he ever had was his, Paul Jenkins' Jay Lee story, and then he just tanked after that. Marvel just kind of destroyed his character. Because he was like Superman. What can you do with Superman? You can't tell a convincing story with Superman. I mean, the guy's got godlike powers. How interesting could he really be? What's my predictions with the next issues of Secret Wars? Well, I mean, God, like I'm loving Secret Wars so far. I figured there'd be a lot of questions about Secret Wars. I'm really excited about Secret Wars so far. Like I love every bit of it. I'm hoping that with issue number 3, we get a little more here. I feel like with issue number 2, it was like, okay, guys, here's the run over of stuff. And with some of the tie-ins, it's just kind of like, okay, here's A-Force. But, while the tie-ins are going to be self-contained, basically, meaning that as far as I understand, the tie-ins aren't going to fold into the main Secret Wars storyline, which is kind of a shame, kind of disappointing. Assuming that is true, I could be wrong here, but assuming that that's true, I imagine we'll get explanations on each of those things, but I want to see the big picture. What I think is going to happen, because this is Jonathan Hickman. With Jonathan Hickman, we're going to get more of what we got in issue number 2, and we're going to get more of what we got with issue number 2 and issue number 4, and so on and so forth. It probably won't be towards, it'll probably be the last issue when we learn how everything happened. We learned what happened to Molecule Man. We learned what happened that led to the creation of Battleworld. We learned what happened between the conflict between Doctor Doom and the Beyonders. Like, we learn all that stuff, And so, I mean, it's Hickman, thank God it's only 8 issues. Because Hickman can drag stuff out. I mean, those of you guys that read Hickman stuff, you guys know Hickman can write a long story. And I'm glad we don't have to wait 3 years for the story to end. But I don't know. I mean, here's a question I would pose to you guys. Once Secret Wars is done, once we're into just like Battleworld, do you guys think that Marvel will be able to keep the greatness of Secret Wars going? Because I think we can all agree that Secret Wars is going to be great. I mean, with Hickman writing it, from issue number 1 all the way up to issue number 8, it's going to be an awesome story. Can Marvel keep it going? Because Hickman's leaving after Secret Wars. He's going to DC. And so I'm curious to see, can they keep it great? I don't know. Where is Odin? We don't know. The Thor that we saw in Thor's, I mean, those are all just Thors. And so that's not Odin from the Earth 616 continuity, or like the main Odin, from the Marvel Universe. No clue where he's at. Maybe we'll get a reveal, maybe we won't. I mean, that's the question. That's kind of the problem with something like Secret Wars is, I can't answer the questions until we get them. And we haven't gotten them yet. I mean, it may be that we'll see, the female version of Thor, in the all-new, all-different Avengers, and she'll tell us what's going on. She'll tell us where the old Thor went, where, Frigga and all those characters are. She may tell us, she may not. We don't really know. Do I like the Joe Fixit Hulk? Yes! I was so excited to see Joe Fixit come back. I was like, oh, yes! I mean, he shows up, like, it's for those of you guys who don't know, that's the Joe Fixit Hulk that we saw at the end of Planet Hulk that met Steve Rogers. It has, like, the great big cannon on his chest and all that kind of stuff. He was such an awesome Hulk. He was like your common everyday handyman Hulk. Like, he was cool. He was the guy that you see doing patchwork in an apartment building Hulk. Like, that's the Hulk that we all know and love. Who would I recruit as an Avenger that hasn't been a member? Let's see. Between Ghost Rider, Elektra, Black Cat, Constrictor, etc. I'd choose Elektra. Elektra's probably the most formidable assassin on the planet. Like, she is amazing in the, well, I mean, I guess she's dead now, but before the death of all the non-essential, basically, characters from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I think that she was probably the best assassin, and she would have been amazing as part of the Avengers. The problem was that, like, she was a bad guy, and she was always trying to kill Daredevil. And that's kind of a problem if you're an Avenger. Here's my question. If you guys could add somebody to the roster of the Avengers who isn't an Avenger... Okay, no. If you guys could add a villain to the roster of the Avengers, which villain would you pick? That's my question. That'd be a cool question. Do I know who She-Thor is? Yes, we already talked about that. It's Jane Foster. I have a video about that, actually. Is there going to be more Deadpool comics? My God, man, this okay. That mono Munkai, that's like the kid when someone's like, "Does anybody have any questions?" And he's just like jumping up and down in the back of the classroom, and it's like, "Oh my God, really?" There's Deadpool's Secret Wars. Deadpool's Secret Wars is basically Deadpool in the original Secret Wars event. It's a three-part series. The final part comes out at the end of July, I think. But I don't know if we're going to get any more Deadpool comics after that. I have no idea. I don't, and that's the funny thing. Marvel says Deadpool's dead. The Earth 616 version of Deadpool's dead. Marvel says Wolverine's dead. The Earth 616 version of Wolverine's dead. We know that with reading Secret Wars, Secret Wars Battle World, that Wolverine's still alive. It's just a different version of Wolverine from a different reality. We know that Wolverine will be part of X-Men 92. So, that'll be interesting. Dwayne Johnson. You'd pick Dwayne Johnson to be on the Avengers? Punisher Netflix series or a movie? Definitely a Punisher movie, but I will say this. Somebody asked earlier about Dirty Laundry. Dirty Laundry is probably, like, that movie was 10 minutes, like 9 or 10 minutes. That was better than any of the other Punisher stuff that we've seen in any film or anything. Like, that was better than all of that stuff. That was the Frank Castle we all know and love. Like, it's funny because for those of you guys who aren't familiar with Frank Castle, if you saw the first Punisher movie, the scene where he's using the popsicle and he's torturing that guy, if that were in the comics, like, he really would have used that blowtorch and he really would have just totally flayed that guy's back. Like, he really would have just burned him to death. Like, no questions asked. He would have been like, sorry about your luck. I need information that you have, and I'm going to get it. Good afternoon, Paul Jones. But yeah, it was definitely pretty solid. Punisher will come in Daredevil, Iron Fist. I mean, if we're going to see Punisher in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we'll see him in Netflix before we see him in a film. And the reason why is because it's a safer bet. It makes more sense. It's cheaper to put the Punisher in like 2 or 3 episodes of Netflix in the Daredevil or in the Iron Fist series than it is to make a 2.5-hour film about his character. He's just not, people aren't willing to take the risk. People aren't willing to say, I'm going to go and spend, $9 or $10 on a Punisher film, coming off of the Punisher film with Thomas Jane and then Punisher Warzone. Even though it's a Marvel Cinematic Universe film, you'll get more than you normally would, but they won't get enough to offset the cost. Because, I mean, there'd have to be a lot of destruction. You're talking about a lot of blowing stuff up. You're talking about a lot of people dying. You're talking about, all kinds of different things that would have to go on in that film. And so, it'd be kind of difficult to do. Let's see. Why was the 616 the main Marvel Universe? That was just a random numerical designation. Way back in the 1980s, when Alan Moore wrote, I guess he was part of Marvel UK, he wrote a story called The Crooked World about Mad Jim Jaspers and Captain Britain. And Captain Britain learns that he's actually part of a multiversal group called the Captain Britain Corps. And when he's there in this sort of nexus of the multiverse, they basically like designate the main Marvel Universe as Earth 616, and it just stuck after that. It just that's really it. Like, it just kind of stayed that way. So, I mean, there really wasn't there really wasn't like a basis behind it. It's just kind of how it was. You don't think Punisher could appear in Civil War? I mean, he could, but there's a lot of ways to there's a lot of ways to pull that off. There's a lot of ways to bring the Punisher into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, you could do it. You could have him feature in Civil War, but the question is, why is he here? Like, why not, do something else? Why not, put him in Netflix or something like that? There would be too many questions that would be answered or asked that they wouldn't be able to answer. So, I mean, they'd have to do like a basis for him. They would have to bring him in. They'd have to say, oh, Dolph Lundgren, yeah, the original Punisher. They would have to like bring him in. They'd have to do something, to make him relevant. So, Convergence or Secret Wars? Ooh. I would say Convergence is good. Convergence is interesting if you like the older stories, because I don't care about the main story. The older stories are what are relatively interesting, but I haven't really been interested in the old stories recently. I would say Secret Wars, to me, is more interesting because I'm more interested in Marvel than I am in DC. Plus, Marvel's never done this before, and so this is all new territory. DC's done stuff like this before. I mean, They've rebooted their continuity, they've changed things up, they've done all that stuff before. It's not new. With Marvel, this is new. So that was obviously Cosmic Kitty Pride at the end. Is that what you're talking about? Are you talking about A-Force? Because I couldn't. All I saw was Cosmic Kitty Pride. We're not sure. Honestly, we won't know until they tell us. But I would wager and say you're probably right. So, okay, here's a question I have for you guys, because coming out on Tuesday for Top 5 Tuesday is the top 5 Deadpool moments. The Tuesday after that is going to be the top 5 lanterns. So, I already know who my favorite lantern is. In my opinion, who the number 1 Green Lantern is. Who is the number 1 Green Lantern for all you guys? Like, who is the best, or not, okay, let's not say the best Green Lantern. Who's the best lantern? The best, like, anybody who's ever wielded a Green Lantern or a White Lantern or a Red Lantern or any of those, who is the best lantern wielder in DC Comics? That's what I want to know. What's going on, Digital Wave? Welcome. Let's see. Chris Pine would be perfect for Hal Jordan. Yeah, he would be pretty good. Sky in Avengers or Inhumans movie. Sky will be developed more, I think, in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. before we'll actually see her in any of the Avengers film. Although we might see her in the... I knew, like, right off the bat, Kyle Rayner. People were posting up Kyle Rayner. I would say right off of the, with Sky, Daisy Johnson, we'll see her develop more. I think she's going to be our segue into the Inhumans. I see her playing a bigger role in Phase 4. Maybe later on in Phase 3. Again, we get our Inhumans movie between Infinity War Part 1 and Infinity War Part 2. And so I see her kind of phasing in and introducing us to the Inhumans, which means she'll get a bigger role. But I don't see her in Captain America Civil War. She might be, though. But if she was, we would have known by now. With all the information that's coming out, all the pictures, all that kind of good stuff, all that, I find it very difficult to believe that Marvel will be able to keep it hush-hush that she's going to be in Civil War and nobody found out about it. I don't think that's going to happen. So, how do I think that Thanos is going to take the Vision's Mind Stone in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Simple. He's just going to walk up behind him, smack him in the back of the head, and catch the gem as it falls out. I think he's probably going to destroy the Vision. Here's what I think is going to happen. I think Infinity War Part 1 is going to be Thanos gaining, like, the last of the Infinity Gems. I think that as the Marvel Cinematic Universe progresses towards the Infinity War, we're going to see Thanos capturing gems. Like, I think in one of the movies, we'll see, like, maybe the end of Captain America Civil War or something like that. We'll see that, like, Thanos is walking into the Xandarian fortress after, like, obliterating everybody, and then just, like, taking the stone or taking the power gem. I think that that's the kind of thing that we'll see. And then I think in Infinity War, we'll see him getting the last of the gems. And then in Infinity War Part 2, that's when he's going to start unleashing holy hell and start waging war against everybody. And we're going to see the whole Infinity Gauntlet story unfold. Yes. What's the film you are most hyped about for Phase 3? Ooh. Man, that's a good one. I want to say Infinity War, but everybody's hyped about Infinity War. So aside from that one, because that's kind of a given. There's no one out there who's like, man, I don't care about Infinity War. Like, nobody out there thinks that. And if they do, there's something wrong with them. Like, if you're not excited for Infinity War, there's something wrong with you, is what I say. Let's see. I'd say the Inhumans. I'm really psyched for the Inhumans. I think it's about time the Inhumans got some love. I think that'll be the movie that I'm looking forward to the most in Phase 3. But there's also Captain Marvel. There's Black Panther. There's Doctor Strange. God, I'm looking forward to all of them. There we go. I'm looking forward to every movie in Phase 3. Like, Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Yeah, that comes out in Phase 3. God, there's so much great stuff coming out. What's going on? Elias, I guess it is. Let's see. Can I see Sky Quake doing a Secret Warriors kind of spinoff show on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? I don't think there'd be enough interest for them to do a spinoff show. In truth, right now, the popularity of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is hanging on as it is. People are, I guess hanging on is not the best phrase. I could say that people look at the show and they say, okay, I'm watching this because of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because maybe we'll see Coulson tie back in again or something like that. Like, that's not something that I'm really sure about. What I will say though is that again, Secret Warriors, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of interest. I don't think there's enough interest in the character of Sky herself to hold her own show. She's a great character. You know, she's a really cool concept in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But I see her coming in and actually being a character that will kind of evolve in the Marvel Cinematic Universe on her own, and then maybe or maybe not actually, you know, get a major role. I don't know. It's weird. I mean, I think she'll be a minor character, to be honest. Um, no one watches Agents of Shield. No one except like the few million people that watch it every week. I mean, no one besides them. Like you're right. Do I think there will be any Phase 4 in the Marvel Universe? Oh, definitely. I mean, there's definitely going to be a Phase 4. Why wouldn't there be? I mean, they're making way too much money off of this to not do a Phase 4. Like, no, that'd be crazy talk. Um, let's see. Rob, Suicide Squad, Joker reaction. Oh, man, I I'm on the fence about the Joker. I'm not sure. I know a lot of people are just like, yes, we get Joker, even though it's Jared Leto, whatever, who cares? It's the Joker. The Joker looks like a character from Oz. I'm not sure how I feel. Here's the question I think we have to ask. Are we going to get a dark, sadistic Joker that's not funny? Or are we going to get an over-the-top, humorous Joker that is funny? That's my question. Um, I don't know. I like the over the top, like the humorous but still sadistic Joker. Like I like that fine line Joker that right there, where you know that he's crazy enough to just kill people for no real reason, but you also know that while it doesn't seem like he has a reason, that he actually does, and he has a plan, and it's all going towards something ridiculous, like copywriting fish that he's made to look like himself. I mean, I don't know. I think it'll be. I don't know. I'll really just kind of have to wait, to be honest, to see how it plays out. Do I think that the MCU is rushing Thanos? No. No, I don't. I think there's enough knowledge and enough interest out there about Thanos that your average moviegoer is going to say, I know who that guy is. I know what's up with that guy. As soon as they announced it, I mean, videos were everywhere. Like, you guys remember when the Avengers film ended and they revealed Thanos? Like, there were videos everywhere. Everybody was talking about Thanos. Thanos this, Thanos that. Who is Thanos? Thanos explained. I mean, I jumped on that hype train, and the video has like 200,000 views. Everybody was talking about Thanos. There's enough hype out there now, and enough people know who he is, that they know that this is leading towards the Infinity Gauntlet. And so, in truth, if you want to see what happens, just read Infinity Gauntlet. I think they're pacing Thanos pretty well. I think they're keeping him at the same speed they need to in order to maintain interest, but to also remind people that yes, Thanos out there, and he's capturing the Infinity Stones. I mean, I think they're building it up well, because remember, we have like 5 or 6 films before the Infinity War happens. So it's not like Infinity War happens tomorrow. I mean, we've got several films coming up before that takes place. So, let's see. Do I think after Thor 3 Ragnarok that Natalie Portman, let's scroll back up, Natalie Portman would take the mantle of Thor and hammer like in the comics? Man, let me tell you something. That would be a gamble. If, let's say that Thor 3 Ragnarok plays out the same way it does in the comics, and let's say Thor dies. Man, if Natalie Portman is like, the world needs a Thor, and like she picks up the hammer, here's what's going to happen. There's going to be initial like freaking out. People are going to be like, oh my God, Natalie Portman, Thor. They're going to be like, yeah, Thor. Like we get female Thor. Natalie Portman's going to be wielding the hammer. Like girls everywhere are going to be like, yes, we get a female version of Thor. And then it's going to wear off. And the question is going to be, okay, now can she live up to the hype? Can she be a Thor? Can they write her well? Can they give her good action sequences that Natalie Portman can physically play out, or that they can have a convincing stunt double play out in her stead? That'll be the question. That I think will be the big issue with her character. I think she can pull it off. Natalie Portman's an incredible actress. Like, she's unbelievable. Obviously she could play off the character convincingly. The question is, can they write her convincingly? And that I think would be the big deal. I would say that if they did, they probably could. They could write a good female version of Thor. I think that I think with the direction the Marvel Cinematic Universe is going in, the direction that the comics are going in, we're going to see a Jane Foster Thor. There's a reason why it was revealed to us that Jane Foster was Thor instead of like Valkyrie or Enchantress or any number, Sif. I would have picked Sif to wield the hammer of Thor before I picked Jane Foster. To be truthful with you guys, if I were gonna tell the truth here, I would have picked her. I would have said it makes more sense that it would be or it would be Sif instead of Jane Foster. But nonetheless, there's a reason why things have been done the way we haven't really seen this yet. If Thor is holding his hammer, can somebody pick up Thor? We haven't seen that in the Marvel Cinematic Universe yet. That's my question. Could Marvel make another spin-off show? Let me tell you something. If Marvel makes a spin-off show about anything, I'll watch it. The question is, what would the spin-off show be? I mean, I think that with Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, and Daredevil, the next expected person for them to make a show on would be like the Punisher. That's why I say it makes sense that they will say, we're going to go ahead and throw out, the Punisher appearing in a couple instances in the Marvel Cinematic Universe Netflix series, and then just straight up like give us a Punisher film. That would, or I'm sorry, a Punisher Netflix series. That would make sense. Test the waters, irrelevant titles in Secret Wars. Honestly, it's difficult to tell right now because the way they're doing Secret Wars, we're doing Secret Wars in 3 phases. The first phase is Last Days. Here's the way it works, guys. Secret Wars is one of those things where Secret Wars isn't over till it's over. Like, Last Days is basically like, here's Marvel killing off and ending all the titles that are currently ongoing. So Black Widow's ongoing story is going to end with Last Days, that kind of good stuff. But Black Widow's Last Days goes all the way until the end of Secret Wars, the Silver Surfer solo series, all those things. And so it won't be until Secret Wars ends and we're officially into whatever the new world is or whatever things are going to be after Secret Wars is over, that we can say whether or not it's actually over. And so, again, Last Days wraps everything up. Battleworld gives us the foundation for everything as it exists now, or I guess Warzones gives us the foundation for everything as it exists now, all the things going into conflict and all that kind of good stuff. And then Battleworld is what everything is going to be when this is all over. That's why it's really difficult to tell. That's why we're doing all these stories. That's why, yes, Secret Wars number 3 is going to come out, but before we do Secret Wars number 3, we're going to go over Future Imperfect. We're going to do Old Man Logan. We're going to do all these stories because we don't know if Marvel is going to do like they did with Planet Hulk. I thought Planet Hulk was going to be a retelling of the Planet Hulk story. Nope. They're just saying it's a great big huge territory and it houses all these versions of the Incredible Hulk. So now people who read the original Planet Hulk or people who are looking up Planet Hulk want to know the differences between the two. With the Age of Apocalypse, are they going to retell the Age of Apocalypse story? We don't know. So we're going to do Age of Apocalypse. Future Imperfect. We know that the leader of all the Hulks on this in this Greenland territory in Planet Hulk on Battleworld is the Maestro. But unless we go for Future Imperfect, you guys are going to know who Maestro is, and you're not going to know the significance of the Maestro. How much more powerful is the Maestro from your ordinary Incredible Hulk that we see in the Earth 616 continuity? That's the kind of thing that we're going to have to go over, and the kind of thing that we're going to have to do. So it'll be interesting. Let's see. Movies of Phase 4. I think Phase 4 is going to be a sequel to a lot of different things, but I think we're also going to see... I don't know, it's hard to tell. I mean... See, the problem with Infinity War is we don't know where it's going to leave off. It'd be so much easier if we knew where it was going to lead off. If we knew that it was just going to end with the defeat of Thanos, the destruction of everything, and the recreation of the universe. Because if that happened, then they could just basically reboot everything. But if it's not going to happen, I don't know. It's weird. Okay, do you guys want me to pitch? Okay, do you guys want me to pitch, like, my Phase 4? Do you guys want me to give you guys my idea for Phase 4? Because I will if you want me to. Yeah. Let's see. Do you think Universal Studios will allow... Oh, do I think Daredevil or any of the other Netflix series will cross over with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Definitely. I think we'll see all that stuff cross over at some point along the line. And it'll make sense, too. It'll be cool. Let's see. Do you want a movie about Deadpool killing the Marvel Universe? Yes. I would so go see a movie about Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. That would be... Somebody said not really. No, I don't really want to hear your idea, Rob. Keep your ideas to yourself. The Arrow season finale instead. Okay, before we get into this Phase 4 thing, we need to talk about the Flash season finale. The Flash season finale seemed very confusing to a lot of different people. Okay, here's where we stood with the Flash season finale. When the Flash show first started, we had 2 points in time. All right, we had the death of Nora Allen when she was killed, presumably by the Reverse Flash and the Flash from the future. That's the second point in time. The second point in time is the time in which Eobard Thawne traveled into the past and attacked Nora Allen. Now, here was the question. The question was, okay, if he's from the 21st century, how is it that Barry Allen travels into the past? How is it that Barry Allen is in the same time as Eobard Thawne? How is he alive then? We don't really know that. So I think the way things are playing out is this. One, we had this linear timeline. We had this time that, no, it's not out here. Oh, the Flash isn't out there yet? Okay, well, if the Flash isn't out there yet, then we won't talk about it yet. I don't want to spoil it for people. I'll make a separate video so we can talk about it. Okay, so Phase 4 predictions. All right, God, this is going to be a tough one. Okay, so let's say that Phase 3, that Infinity War ends with Thanos wiping out everything, and then let's say that Captain America or Adam Warlock or some character, it doesn't matter who it is, grabs the Infinity Gauntlet and says, we're going to reset everything back to the way it was before all this started. And so, bam, they reset everything. All right. If they reset everything, it's a blank slate, which means that we get to basically do everything over again. The success of Phase 4 is contingent on a lot of different things. One of the most important things is, can Marvel get the rights back to the X-Men and the Fantastic Four? Or can they strike a deal with Fox to feature the X-Men and the Fantastic Four in their Marvel Cinematic Universe? If they can, that's a whole nother phase right there. I mean, you've got X-Force, X-Factor, you've got Generation X, you've got Factor 3, you've got Mr. Sinister, you've got the Sentinels. I mean, you've got all kinds of stuff. You could even do the Age of Apocalypse in its entirety if you wanted to. You know, that's entirely possible. Assuming that doesn't happen, and assuming that the end of Infinity War does not result in the reboot of everything, I would say that what we'll probably see is the House of M in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's what I would want to see. You know, I would say starting with Phase 4 that the Vision and the Scarlet Witch somewhere along the line produce a child, or produce a couple children. The result is that the children aren't real, and the Scarlet Witch can't handle it. Maybe she gets swept up in her own illusions or something like that. But whatever the reason is, the result is that she loses her mind. And so Phase 4, pardon me, I got the burps. Phase 4 is the Scarlet Witch trying to deal with losing everything, trying to deal with her inability to cope with that reality and altering reality instead. I don't know. At this point, it's really hard to tell. If we don't get that, then we'll just see a change in a whole bunch of different things. I mean, we'll just see sequels to all kinds of stuff. We'll see a new Miss Marvel film. We'll see, or I guess Captain Marvel film. We'll see maybe Kamala Khan folded in as Miss Marvel as part of the Inhumans. We'll see a lot of the current stuff or a lot of the newer stuff going on. We may even see a reboot where we basically see like the Secret Wars carrying over into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's really difficult to know. With Marvel not having the rights to the X-Men or the Fantastic Four, they're limited in terms of their most popular characters. I mean, it's really difficult to do. You know, Phase 1, if they were going to introduce some of the minor characters and make them major characters, that would have been the time to do it. But now they really can't. I mean, well, I guess you could in Phase 4, but it'd be really tough to do. But again, we get more Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, it's going to be weird. Let's see. Is there any way Deadpool can kill Thanos? I mean, if Deadpool gets the Infinity Gauntlet, but Deadpool by himself with no special weapons? Not at all. Not a chance. Phase 4 has Kane the Conqueror. When was that confirmed? The Inhumans are taking the main stage in Phase 4? Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. If they can't get the rights to the X-Men back, of course they would elevate the Inhumans. That's what I would do. Let's see. What do I think about an Alpha Flight movie? I would not go see a movie about Alpha Flight. Will there ever be a Marvel DC crossover? I want there to be one. Like, I really want there to be a crossover film with Marvel and DC. I think that'd be awesome. I think it'd be hilarious to see. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think it'd be awesome to see. Let's see. Who do I think would win in a fight? Superman with all the Lantern gems or Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet? Oh my god. Superman with all the Lantern rings, or Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet? I'd say Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet. I mean, the rings don't have the power to warp reality. They just would allow Superman to create all kinds of constructs. But, you know, it would have to be in Earth 616 because, as was established in the Marvel vs. DC crossover, actually, I think it was JLA versus Avengers or JLA and Avengers, whenever, the Infinity Gauntlet does not work outside of its native universe. And so, like, Darkseid tried to pick it up and try to use it, and he was like, well, this sucks. And he just, like, threw it on the ground, and that was it. And yeah, if it was in the Earth 616 universe where the Infinity Gauntlet would work, Superman wouldn't have a chance. I mean, no, not a chance, not at all. Let's see. Think we will ever see the Beyonder, the Living Tribunal, and the One Above All in the MCU? Maybe. I mean, cosmic entities exist in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, they replaced Entropy with Oblivion they replaced Oblivion with Entropy, whatever it was. They basically switched them, changed their names in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And so, I mean, we'll see cosmic entities. I mean, I'm sure we'll actually see them in some form. We know Death exists. Like, we know that she's actually there. We haven't seen her so far, but we know that she's actually alive because Thanos is obsessed with the idea of her. We know that we'll probably see some variation. I mean, there's people who have been saying that, like, Stan Lee's the One Above All. I don't know, but I think it's really just more fanfare than anything else. But no, I think we'll definitely see some cosmic entities. I don't know why we wouldn't. Let's see. Do I watch Constantine? I saw the pilot of Constantine. Didn't really get into it. It really wasn't my thing. I was just kind of like, wasn't really feeling it. Can you explain X-Men 92 and Secret Wars? Yes, we will definitely do a video about X-Men 92 because I don't know about you guys, but I am excited about X-Men 92. X-Men 92 is going to be absolutely amazing. Who would win, Silver Surfer or the Vision? Silver Surfer. He would just fade. Like, he would rearrange the atoms of the Vision. Let's see. Do I ever think they will make a Cable Deadpool movie? Maybe, but I don't think they will. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It depends on how Deadpool does. Deadpool is going to be a success because it's rated R, but they haven't done anything with Cable yet, and so I don't know. I mean, it'd be interesting. The Flash versus Worldbreaker Hulk. Oh God, that's a good one. I don't know. I mean, okay. God, that'd be a tough one. The Flash is super fast. There's no way Worldbreaker Hulk will be able to catch the Flash. But Worldbreaker Hulk is so much stronger than the Flash. So the question is, will the Flash be able to do any damage? Even if he can move really fast, could he even hurt the Incredible Hulk? I mean, would he even be able to hurt him at all? I think honestly, I think it just comes out to be a draw. I mean, the Flash would be too quick for Worldbreaker Hulk to catch, and Worldbreaker Hulk would be too strong for the Flash to hurt. So I think you'd literally just see the Flash just like endlessly punching Worldbreaker Hulk and nothing happening. I don't know. Let's see. Do I play any Marvel or DC games? I've played Marvel Heroes 2015, I think it is. I haven't played anything from DC yet. Well, no, I've played like Arkham Asylum and stuff like that. I think I might play Arkham Origins. I'm not really sure, but I'm not a huge fan of those kind of games. I mean, they're not really, I'm not really big into those. I was I'm more of like an RPG, like a Skyrim, Destiny kind of fan than anything else. Although Destiny's so boring because it's just the same thing all the time. Let's see. Sentry in the MCU. I don't think we'll see Sentry in the MCU. I mean, we could. I mean, it'd be a cool character to introduce, but if we do, it needs to be Paul Jenkins and Jay Lee's story that introduces him in. At least I would hope it would be. So, Darkseid versus Thanos. We've seen that. We've seen Darkseid versus Thanos in the, I can't remember if it was Marvel versus DC or the Avengers JLA crossover. It was one of those two. How old am I? I am 31 years old. What are your thoughts about the Doc Green Hulk? Hold on a second. Well, ask your question again. There's so many questions coming in now, like it's difficult to keep up. In Phase 4, do you think any other chronology will take place? What do you mean? Like story arcs? I'm not really sure what you mean. Am I watching Gotham? No. Who would win, Flash from the CW or Quicksilver? Ooh, that's a good one. Probably Flash from the CW. I mean, Quicksilver, I don't know about you guys, but Quicksilver seemed kind of slow in the Avengers 2 Age of Ultron. I mean, I expect for a character that could run at like Mach 11 in the comics, I expected him to be faster than that. I mean, he was kind of slow. A Squirrel Girl movie. I would go see a movie about Squirrel Girl, definitely. Adam Warlock versus Doc. Okay, now it's all these versus things. Is all anybody's asking about is versus things. What do I think about a Runaways TV show or movie in the MCU? The Runaways never really resonated with me. I know the Runaways have been around for a long time, but they never really like caught traction with me. I was never really too interested in seeing theirs. Seeing. They really seemed like a cheap version of like the New Mutants, you know, or Generation X. I mean, even though Generation X wasn't really that great, but you know, that's kind of what it seemed like to me. So I never really got too into them. Who are your top 3 writers and artists? Oh God, okay. Top 3 writers and artists. Well, I mean, number 1 is definitely Claremont and John Byrne because of everything they did with the X-Men back in the 80s. The next, that's my top. You know, that's I'm gonna say that's number 1. I know it's like, you know, putting them together. But that's, I mean, unless you're talking about writers and artists and ranking each of them individually, I would say that number 1 is Claremont and John Byrne. Number 2 is Jonathan Hickman and anybody else, and number 3 is Jim Lee and any writer. So. That's my 1, 2, 3. I would say coming in number 4 at a very very close 4 is probably Paul Jenkins and Jay Lee. So let's see. Do I watch anime? I used to watch Dragon Ball Z. Who's Cloak and Dagger? Cloak and Dagger are the result of an experiment. Cloak has the ability to create to basically like immerse people and teleport them, and I can't remember what Dagger does. Let's see. Rob, would you like to see another Hulk movie? Yes, I really want to see another Incredible Hulk movie. I don't think we'll get one. I don't think we'll see one, but I would really love to see another Incredible Hulk film. I think it would be fun to see shit just wilding out. A Planet Hulk film would be preferable. I would love to see Planet Hulk in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I don't think we will. 1, because it would just be too expensive to make, and 2, because you know Marvel's already announced they can't make an Incredible Hulk film. But I would love to see Planet Hulk because Planet Hulk would lead to World War Hulk. And I want to see a World Breaker Hulk pissed off and just unleashing all kinds of havoc on the planet Earth. Like that's what I want to see. So anyway, guys, I need to get to work on Age of Apocalypse, or get to work on recording Age of Apocalypse. So remember to check in the description for the channel that I suggest, which of course, again, I do that at the beginning of all my videos, of all my Q&A sessions. I suggest you guys check out a channel that I have in my description, a channel that's starting out, a channel that's kind of getting into things, and just a way for you guys to kind of decide, you know, whether or not you want to help that channel grow, become part of the community, or else just kind of like leave it at that. But anyway, yes, Age of Apocalypse Part 1 comes out tomorrow. The top 5 Deadpool moments comes out on Tuesday. And then I think we're probably going to try to finish out Age of Apocalypse for the rest of the week. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and bounce off here, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.